sustaining, all of it.
Everything together.
All right, let's try not to this up like last week, huh?
Listening back, it was a little bit interesting.
Oh, goddamn. It was so slow at the end. It was so sluggish.
If you guys are here and you have listened to previous episodes, thank you so much for coming back. We had an experimental episode on location in Montreal last week.
Yeah, we recorded it like 4 o'clock in the morning after a night of drinking. Shout out to McLean's Pub, by the way. What a great establishment.
Wonderful place.
Great people there.
If ever you're on Peel Street in Montreal, you'll see them.
Absolutely. But yeah, by the time we got to it, it was pretty late, and we were both feeling a little bit, I think. The feedback, we assumed it was going to be our worst episode ever. We've only had 3 episodes, so that's very possible. But when I listened back to it, I'm like, it wasn't that bad.
It was more our energy there. I think we had some good moments. There's some funny conversations, but it's just we're a little bit down.
Let's hope that does not happen for this week's episode. But how could it? Because there's so much to talk about.
It's definitely not happening here. I'm so excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah. Before we do, if you're just joining us for the first time, this is Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we are on a quest to find the best bad movies that are so bad, they're not only good, but great. We're full of spoilers. If you don't want to hear the plot of the movie, leave, go watch it, come back later.
Yeah, hopefully you can enjoy it, even if you haven't seen the movie. We kind of talk through that plot as well as pull out some of the things that we think are worth mentioning. But you definitely don't have to have seen it before to enjoy the podcast.
No, and when we're done, we're going to rate it on 2 separate scales of 1 to 10. One for how bad it is, one for how enjoyable it is. And what are we hoping to get?
A crit 20. Oh, God, the Echo Machine.
I love it. I love the Echo. Yeah, a movie that is 10 to 10 bad and 10 to 10 enjoyable. We'll put it in the Bad Movies and Beer Hall of Fame. Today's episode, this is actually the first movie that you and I did not watch in the same room.
Yeah, we tried something a little bit different just to make it easier for us to put the podcast together this week. We watched the movie apart, so I'm really excited to hear some of your reactions.
Oh, me too, man. I'm so excited to hear about this. But first, let's talk about the beer that we are drinking today.
It is a Deadly Dark Lager from Caledon Hills Brewing Co.
Deadly Dark. Like
Deadly
the
Dark.
haunted house at night in the movie that we are talking about.
I think we should probably tell people what the movie is at this point.
I said Spookies, didn't I?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, that would be good to know. We're watching Spookies. Very interesting story with this movie, which we'll get into. But yeah, in honor of the haunted mansion nighttime ambiance of the movie, we are drinking Deadly Dark from the Caledon Hills Brewing Company, Caledon, Ontario, Canada. I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Oh, no. I just spilled beer all over my notes.
You still drunk from the Montreal episode? What's happening here?
This is actually my first beer of the day, so I hope not.
All right. So this movie, I have a question for you before we get too deep in here. How long did it take you to become confused with either the tone or plot of this movie?
I think that it happens pretty quickly where you're watching and you figure out that something is not quite right.
Okay, so it sounds like I don't mean to interrupt you. It sounds like it took you longer to become confused than it took me, because I became confused within literally the first 30 seconds.
You're just like, what the?
Let me explain. So before the movie starts, you see the production company name, Twisted Souls Production. Fascinating backstory with this movie. This movie was originally just going to be a horror movie called Twisted Souls, but then the financier basically fired the director and screenwriter. It was a pair of guys, fired them both, brought in a second director on the cheap to take. They had like a 2.5 hour rough cut, which is obviously way too long for this movie, and it was never meant to be the length. But the financier, I guess, wasn't happy with it, brought someone else in. Their job was to trim it down. They shot some new scenes. I think they ended up using about 45 minutes of the original footage, adding in a whole separate side plot, new characters, and trying to cram essentially 2 movies together. Which, well, you tell me how you felt going through this thing.
We talked about this movie a while ago, or you'd sort of mentioned the concept of the movie, or that it had happened, and you hadn't given me the heads up before I watched it that this was actually that movie. So I started watching it, and it became very clear to me very quickly that that's what was going on, that this was 2 movies filmed separately.
Yeah, disjointed is the word that I would use.
So disjointed. Well, the hilarious part is they're trying to pull the plot together, but they can't have any of the actors or characters in the one set of film interact with the ones in the other.
Yeah.
And so that was the funny part. Like, not only did they fire the director of the first set, or they fired them, they completely replaced all the actors and everybody in
Not
it.
just the characters. It's all different characters.
Yes, I did. So I was like, what the? And it was really confusing to me, and I made a really wrong assumption. Watching it, I figured you will talk about it as we go through.
Maybe let's say this for the end.
We'll come back and we'll talk about
so,
it.
None of this is the reason why. I mean, this was very confusing, but the very first moment that I was confused is when the title of the movie shows up on the screen. We get kind of a blood pouring effect, and it spells the word Spookies, and there's a skull dotting the eye. And the skull looks menacing and dangerous like a skull. But then for some reason, we zoom in on the skull, and the skull, the menacing, scary skull thing, turns into like a gently smiling skull. It just kind of like cartoonishly turns, and I'm like, wait,
what's happening?
Is this movie like? Is this supposed to be funny? Is this like a kid friendly? Like what? Because the skull no longer looks menacing. It looks like happy and like friendly. And I was like, what is this?
The tone was really funny. It was a challenge because there were many times in it where it felt like they were going for like a sort of serious slasher horror movie, and then it goes crazy campy.
Yeah, I think some of that's budget. Because again, when they brought in the new people, it was like, there's no money. So just wrap this up quick.
Yeah, we're not going to give you any money to make this thing actually work.
Whereas before, so the what I've read about this movie, what I've researched, the screenwriter's idea was, we are going to have a monster on every page. That was their actual saying, a monster on every page. Every scene in this movie is going to have a different creature. And there are a lot, and some of them like are interesting looking or cool. Some of them are terrible. But the big separation between the two things is, like, all of a sudden there are no more elaborate creatures. Now it's just people in like makeup, or like, you know, people made to look old. It's a big separation.
Yeah. It really, really, I think, made this movie probably more interesting.
Oh, definitely, for sure. So let's get into it. We open on a pulsing grave. There's a chain with a lock over the grave. Something is clearly trying to get out. We get an immediate cut to some sort of crypt keeper.
Okay, before we even go on, I hate to interrupt you so soon.
Oh my God,
I know.
What?
The pulsing gravestone. It was supposed to be a concrete slab, and it looked like someone was like waving a parachute or a ruffled sheet. I was like, are you kidding me? This is where we're starting?
It doesn't look very solid.
No. And we're going to get a throwback later. And I was like,
oh my
big
God. Throwback.
Yeah, so
the point is, something is trying to get out of there.
Yeah, something's breaking out of the
ground. And it shouldn't be that hard.
Something's breaking through
like
a
you're
sheet.
saying.
A paper bag that's wet.
All right. So we get a cut to the crypt keeper. He is talking to he's facing a casket, talking to it. It contains his darling Isabel. And the crypt keeper says that some foolish victims are going to arrive. And once they do, we shall be together for all time.
Yes.
So then we get a shot of the woods. There is some sort of hook-handed... so what I wrote down originally was hook-handed gorilla creature, werewolf, goblin. He's like just this purple-faced thing with... I think he's a werecat.
He's Cat Hook.
That's what you were referring to?
Yeah, he's Cat Hook.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about it, but Cat Hook is the like sneak MVP of this film.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
We can talk about that later.
We'll get in there.
He sees a kid with the backpack. That is Billy. And then we see two cars full of people. And these people, the way I thought it was split up was, I'm like, one car is teenagers and one car is parents. And they're looking for Billy, I thought. But they're not looking for Billy?
No.
Do they even know Billy?
No, they're not connected at all. This is that like distinction in the two productions, right? Like, and I don't even think they tried to insinuate that there was a connection between them.
See, I thought when they first went, they were referring to someone in the third person, like he flipped out at some party, and I in my mind, I'm like, oh, Billy got upset and ran out of this party. But then it never mentioned Billy. They never look for Billy, so they clearly don't know. But this is a separate group.
Yeah, completely separate group. So two stories going on at the same time, and they're going to be pulled together by the place in which they're both heading. I don't know. Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. Billy's out there on his own.
Yeah. Oh, but not for long though, because he runs into some guy in a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah,
just a lot of denim.
But like, and the guy's in a tree.
I thought that was like the werecat. Like I thought Cat Hook had like transformed into a human form, and like I'm like, oh no,
yes,
that's not correct though, because Billy says he's got to go. He's got big plans. The denim guy tries to send him home, which is real noble of a strange man in a tree in the woods to send the kid home.
Who asked for a young kid for a light because he needed a cigarette.
Yeah, that was so strange. Billy just, sorry, mister, I'm not doing that. He says, I guess I'll be seeing you. And the denim drifter just says, maybe. But no, because he's immediately murdered by Cat Hook. And that's when I found out that he was not Cat Hook.
Well, the way they cut it make it look like he's transforming into Cat Hook. They literally go from a scene of him to like this like weird motion.
It pans
into
down
to
the ground and it pans back up and there's Cat Hook.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he transformed back. But then no, because then it pans down again and there's the dead dude all scratched up.
Yeah. It was pretty baffling.
So then we're back to the Crypt Keeper. We see Isabel in the casket. He says he's been waiting 70 years for this, and she moves. So she's coming back to life through some sort of magical power.
Is it because he's sacrificing people? Like, that was sort of the thing that I was starting to get, or like he gains his powers from killing others, it seems.
So I guess like Werecat kills Denim Dan, and now she starts to move.
I think so.
I feel like she's like fully awake before they kill most of the people. They kill people. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if I don't want to give away the spoiler. Well, we're going to get the spoiler here, but we'll talk more about that as we move forward.
The teenagers in the car.
Yes.
The teenagers. They're having some beers, of course, and the driver, Duke, what a character. He's worried about his upholstery. They're going to spill beer on the upholstery. And in the back seat of this car, which I believed was the teenage car, is a dude who's like 45. That's Rich. And he has a puppet with him for some reason to try and make him look younger, I guess.
Yeah, so this character was, I guess, the comic relief.
God, he's supposed to be, but he's terrible. He's not funny.
He's awful. He's full of like homophobic and misogynist comments like the entire time. His shirt he's wearing...
he's not Duke. He's rich, and he's just trying to get laid.
Oh, but
that's all he wants.
There's only one single girl there, and she wants nothing to do with him.
But
well, maybe because he's wearing a T-shirt with himself and his puppet on it.
I was going to mention that later. Yeah. I didn't realize that till later in the movie, but it's incredible.
He's wearing a shirt with himself and his puppet on it.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going for with any of this.
He's getting drunk and puppeteering at the same time, trying to get a lady.
That's the way to do it. I mean, if a puppet won't bring the ladies in, what will?
I mean, yeah. Jim Henson Slade, I'm sure. I don't know.
They're driving in this car. All of a sudden, Duke's got to slam the brakes on because there's a branch that is blocking the road. He gets out to move it, and when he gets out, he is wearing like a leather karate gi. It's all leather, and I'm like, is that a gi?
I couldn't place where the outfit was from. Like, he kind of looked like he belonged in West Side Story, but like
a karate version.
Yeah, like this weird production. It zipped up. He kind of looked like he stole something out of David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust days. Like,
but that's how you know that he's a badass. He's the cool one.
Well,
Duke's the cool one.
And he never delivered a line without shouting.
Again, I'm so confused by the relationship between these people because it becomes very clear that the dude in the car behind him, what I thought was the parent car, is not in any way related to Duke at all. He's just some guy, and like he's like, what's going to happen?
All right, let's get out of this place.
Wait a minute, what are we doing now?
We're partying, man. Something you're too old to appreciate, huh?
Duke's yelling all the time. I was also really confused about this man. Like, all of the other people look like they're
within about 15 years.
They look like they could be teenagers, right? Even Rich, in the way that he acted, seemed young. This other guy was wearing a suit jacket.
Yeah, he's like 50.
He was acting super old, but he was coupled up with this like one of the teen girls.
Let's talk about that in a second.
All right,
because that's something that there's a couple of scenes where I spent the whole time trying to figure out what is the nature of their relationship, and I walked out with nothing. I have no idea. We get back to Billy. Billy finds the giant house with the graveyard. There's a grave with no name. He comments on how weird that is. He enters the house. He finds a birthday cake and some presents, and they're addressed to him. He says, I guess they didn't forget after all, so we can infer that Billy's parents perhaps forgot his birthday. He
starts looking for his parents in this weird, creepy old mansion.
It's a surprise party. If you walked into a room and you found, which admittedly, why are you walking into a creepy mansion? But if you did and you found presents and a cake and it's addressed to you and it's your birthday, you'd be like, oh shit, it's a surprise party. As strange as connecting those dots is.
But a random mansion in the woods is not going to have your own surprise party.
But if you saw the stuff, you would assume that someone there must know you, and you wouldn't assume it's
led me
powers.
on this creepy old weird like trip to this
the
mansion.
Denim drifter was the gatekeeper, and he was like supposed to steer him towards the house.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a robot and a creepy doll.
Yeah.
And suddenly we see a shot of like a gnome running into the mansion also.
I thought it was he looked like a little druid. He looked like I couldn't figure out at the first if he was like a child or a little person.
But we find out later. He plays actually an important role in this.
He
Maybe.
does. I don't know.
Yeah. Billy decides to open his present, and inside the box is a head that looks up at him because the head is alive and says,
Happy birthday, Billy.
And then the most evil, sinister laugh.
oh, just laughing his ass off.
Oh my
and
God.
Billy runs, and just as Billy's running, Duke and everyone pulls up to the house. And I have here in my notes, are they looking for Billy? So unclear.
They weren't.
They weren't. Nope.
No,
they're
absolutely
just
not.
at a party.
Can you clarify something for me?
I'd love to.
The head in the box?
It's a crypt keeper, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, okay.
I mean, it certainly seems like it.
I know. I just wonder, like...
You wonder if his body's underneath the table, if there's a hole in the table, and he's
like,
just,
or were they
or if he's
implying
able
that
to,
he was able to
I don't know.
put his appearance into the? I don't know.
What can't that guy do?
He can, yeah,
He can
it's
do a
true.
lot, I guess.
I mean, he looks like Billy Crystal from The Princess Bride after he aged. I was just like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So Billy is running. He's running from the house. He gets chased down by the werecat, and this is where I figured out that he was a werecat because as his offense is all scratching. He's just scratching and making kind of cat noises. So I'm like, oh, he's a
lot
werecat.
of cat sound effects.
Inexplicably, after he's scratched Billy a few times, he knocks him into a fully dug grave in the middle of this woods, or I guess the graveyard maybe.
Yeah, he'd set this up. He went out and dug this before.
He was able to like lure Billy, like he steered him with his hunting skills, I guess. Throws him in the grave, buries Billy alive.
Yeah, this scene was like just so maddening because he like scratches Billy once or twice and then knocks him into the grave and does the slowest job of covering him in dirt.
Billy had ample time to get his shit together and just like crawl out of there. He just lays there,
like,
getting dirt slowly
he probably
pouring
had 7 minutes of film that he could have gotten out of that grave where he had like one shovelful on him.
Yeah, it would not have taken much, but he just lay there.
Yeah, just like kind of like throwing his arms around in the air. And at some point, though, I became concerned for the child actor because they do start piling it on pretty heavy. I was like, oh my God.
The budget for this movie is so low that they're, are they doing proper breathing apparatus?
Yeah,
Probably not.
I didn't think so. I didn't feel like that was going to be happening for this kid.
man.
I was like, I hope this kid made it out of it. Yeah.
The character didn't. That's the end of Billy. Billy's gone.
And this is
He
where I think the bride started to get a lot of her Isabel, right? Started to get a lot of her energy back.
It's very possible. The teenagers, meanwhile, whatever, Duke and his crew, they're in the house, they're drinking, they're partying, but the music they are dancing to is like elevator music. It's like smooth jazz. I'm like, what is this?
The music and sound in this movie was really, really
well. When we get to the end,
yeah.
there's some fucking great music, but this was just an odd choice. Rich, the puppet guy, doing just some atrocious physical comedy. He's like bumping into literally every single person in the room, bringing the puppet up above the couch to like scare me. It's awful. It's really bad.
Yeah, his character should have died way sooner.
You were waiting for it also?
Oh, God,
I
yeah.
was just kill this just
Although
get him out of there.
The way he died was amazing.
It was pretty good. Duke finds a locked door. He busts the door open, breaks the lock, and a skeleton falls out.
Hold on. It was ridiculous how badly he wanted into this room. He picks up a chair and smashes it against the door.
Duke will not be denied.
No, as his first. And this is not the only chair that Duke smashes in this movie, which is amazing. And then somehow he pulls out just a giant chunk of metal or a rod to be able to rip it open and breaks it open. And I'm like,
I thought it was like from the fireplace, like one of those like fireplace.
Okay.
Maybe not. I didn't get a good clean look at it because
one of those comes into play pretty strong later.
Yep. So the skeleton falls on him, and the skeleton is holding a Ouija board. Carol, one of the characters whose name we learn right here, she explains how it works, but as she's explaining, she's very clearly in some kind of trance.
I kind of felt this way from her even earlier. Like when they were outside the mansion about to go in, she sort of talked with no expression.
Okay.
And I felt like maybe that was something that's happening. But it's clear she's under control right here.
Yeah. I was, in that part you're describing, I was too busy trying to figure out who the that old guy was and why he was there and also what the Duke was wearing. So I wasn't really paying attention to Carol. I should have maybe. Maybe they really laid the foundation early. She's in some kind of trance. They try the Ouija board. They ask it how old the British lady is. Did you happen to catch her name? I didn't catch her name.
I thought her name was Andrea.
I mean, maybe. So
Yeah.
they ask how old she is. The Ouija board says 24, and she's like, that's exactly right, even though she's much older than 24. but whatever. That's pretty standard. Then I actually like this part. This part was kind of cool. They're like, how old will she live to be? And guess what the board says? 24.
Yeah.
Oh, ominous. So ominous.
She has a pretty good look on her face. She's
yeah,
just like,
man.
I don't want to play this anymore. I'm done with this game.
The Crypt Keeper, it turns out, is controlling the board. They ask, will they ever leave the house alive? The answer is no. The Crypt Keeper's head starts like weirdly throbbing, this like pulsing vein effect. Yeah, which is they blew the whole budget on the reshoot stuff for the vein, I guess. So Carol, as a result of this head pulsing, turns into like an old hag. She's possessed. She's become like a demon. Starts attacking everybody. The British 24-year-old and her boyfriend escape, but they can't start the car because they don't have the keys. Some other dude who I didn't catch his name at all, he escapes, but he trips. And as he lands on the ground, a tombstone rises up out of the ground, and all of a sudden, like we have like a firework kind of like a
Carving or etching
like
effect.
a welding effect almost,
Yeah.
and it shows his name appears.
On the
I
gravestone.
think that was his name.
Yeah, it was his name for sure.
And then he sinks into the ground, and that's the end of him, which that part was actually kind of cool. So then the British lady and her boyfriend, they run back inside. Duke decides to leave, even though 3 of his friends just had very mixed results with that idea.
Yep.
Opens the door, and zombies begin to rise from the graveyard.
Yeah, lots and lots of zombies. Some with actually pretty interesting makeup.
Yep.
There were a couple pretty good ones. They kind of looked like they were straight out of Walking Dead. So it's like Walking Dead brought a little bit of Spookies, right? Like I bet.
that might be a stretch, but you never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Duke thinks better of this plan, runs back inside. The Crypt Keeper here is just toying with him. And then, in the smartest move that anyone can make in a horror movie, they decide to split up. So Duke and Linda, which is his lady friend, they go off. The old guy, Megan, and the puppet guy, Rich, go upstairs. And the British lady and her boyfriend stay put. All right, so you'll love this because I know how much you enjoyed the romantic scene in Swamp Thing last week. We get a very romantic interlude here where Isabel opens her eyes and the Crypt Keeper has been reunited with his love. Except when she sees him, she's like, ooh, get the fuck away from me.
Well, he is 70. He's looking horrible, although the makeup is like pretty suspect. But this is like
No, but apparently they're never really in love.
Oh yeah, she hated him.
She didn't like him at all.
Well, and we learned that she died actually several times, right? Like this isn't the first time he's brought her back. Yeah,
She keeps dying. He keeps bringing her back, and every time she's like, "Leave me the fuck alone, you creep." But
Yeah.
he says no. He just doubles down on this. He just says no. I'm going to make you mine forever.
Yeah.
Nice guy, real sweet. Now at this point, we've got the 3 different groups of people, and the movie really starts cutting back and forth between the 3, all different places. I'm going to try and just tell each story. We'll kind of go through these one at a time. So Duke and Linda, they find another door. He doesn't smash this one. He just opens it. But he falls downstairs to the basement.
Well, hold on. Not only like it opens and he's creeped out, and his solution to like wondering what's behind the door is to dive head first. It just so happens that doorway leads downstairs, and he takes quite the tumble.
He does, but he's okay. In fact, he's better than okay. He's in the mood for love.
Oh my God, yes. He says a couple things here that are just ridiculous and amazing.
Oh, God, what am I lying on? Forget this.
Now hold on. Duke will provide.
As he's looking around this basement trying to find some supplies, which
He's
I thought
trying to provide something that they can bang on.
Well, yeah, he finds a blanket and goes to put it down, but before he does, he puts it over top of himself and he says,
Ooh, look at me. I'm Duke the Horny Ghost.
Dude, the horny ghost.
it's like, is that line ever gonna work? And she's
I don't
like,
know, man. She's into it though.
well, she's like, no way, Duke, we're not doing this. And then she lays down like, maybe
on
we
the
are
dirt
going
floor.
to do this.
After
yeah,
she'd
likes
already
to-
commented about, ew, this floor is so gross. Then she just stretches out. She's like, oh, it's so nice to lay down. And then, this is the section where, like, the most derided section of this whole movie. Some hands come up out of the dirt floor and they grab her. And she manages to get away. But then rising out of the dirt floor, we get the Muck Men.
You mean the fart monsters?
The Muck Men are the most infamous part of this movie. They rise out of the ground, they attack, and they are constantly farting.
Was that an intentional choice?
So, originally, they were not supposed to fart at all. The financier, I'm serious.
How does someone
I'll
change the
explain.
decision? Okay, I'm really confused by
The
this.
financier, the guy paying for the movie, who
Yes.
shit-canned the original director-screenwriter
Yeah.
combo, he thought it would be hilarious.
Fart humor?
He loves fart humor, and he was like, "This will be great." So they fucking post-produced a bunch of like wet fart noises. It's ridiculous.
I was so upset. Right? Like, it sounds like someone's making fart noises with their mouth as they're chasing them around this basement. Of course, like, Duke goes superhero in his, like, karate his leather zipped up karate. He starts showing us some of his martial arts skills,
He's
right?
dressed for it. Why not?
Yeah, he starts, like, kind of, like, fighting with the fart monsters.
But it's Linda who saves the day.
Yeah.
With quick thinking, she grabs that axe, that hatchet. She breaks into one of those giant like wine casks.
Yes.
I guess it was wine.
Yeah, they're giant wine casks
Duke
in the
finds
wall.
a bottle of wine. Yeah, so that's where you store giant wine casks.
Yeah, I didn't know this. Like,
She breaks in. They didn't quite nail this effect because there's a hole and there's like a little squirt of some wine, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch starts pouring out. And I'm pretty sure it would have all just come out right away. But the wine dissolves the Muck Men, and they kind of fade back into the ground from whence they came.
Duke kind of figures this out when he throws a bottle at one of them and it shatters and starts to melt them. It made me think of M. Night Shyamalan. I was like, he's definitely got some inspiration from Spookies
from
again.
Signs?
Yeah.
You think, wow, you're making a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people were looking
modern
at
hit
Spookies
movies. They focus on the good parts of this, and they covered the bad parts.
Hit?
Yeah, man, Signs was a huge hit. Absolutely, number one at the box office for at least 1 week, probably more. At least 1 week does not sound very long, but I'm sure it was.
So the dirt monsters melt away.
They're gone.
Yeah, and then where do we go from there?
Upstairs. So upstairs, and this is where I realized that Rich was wearing a shirt with his own picture on it. He's walking through the hallway, and I was just like, I had to kind of like do the squint, like the lean forward closer to my TV. I'm like, wait a second, is he a picture of his own? It's him and his puppet on the shirt.
Yeah, he kind of pulls back his like jean jacket, right? Or he had a shirt over top, and then you can see it. And
now could you see? Because I could not. Could you see if him in the picture was also wearing a shirt with his picture on it? Is it one of those things where it's like a hallway of like mirrors where it goes on forever?
No, I couldn't see that.
Oh.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, man.
But no.
So he trips. He freaks out. He thinks something's attacking him. It's a cord. More great comic relief from Rich.
Yes. And maybe some foreshadowing.
God, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
A lot of foreshadowing in this movie.
Yeah. So then he starts just opening random doors. In one of the rooms, he finds the Ouija board, and he's like, "Hey guys, I found the board." But unfortunately, he also finds Demon Carol.
Oh God.
Now, Megan and her dad, boyfriend.
This character. Yeah, we said we were going to talk about him again.
This is the time because this is where I'm really like, who the is this guy?
He's at least 55, and
Gotta be. She appears to be probably like early mid-20s, which in this movie would make her a teenager. Because
everyone is younger. And they are holding hands and together. Like, I think he's the old guy trying to set a good example for these teenagers.
I don't
know why he goes along with them. Why did he think this was a nice night out? This is clearly someone going along with their partner to something that they're going to hate.
She's dragging him there. Give it a chance.
And he's putting in a good show. And then
he's up for it, but then he becomes less up for it as the night goes along.
Except for as the night goes along, he becomes the hero. I almost feel like the story that's trying to be told.
Jesus, here we go. This is gonna be.
We got to keep going. You got to keep going with his story because it is so good.
So they try to find another way in. They do not find a way into the room that Rich is in, but they do find a dead body. A lady has hanged herself. She left a note, and the note was saying basically that she's trapped in the house, and the only way to escape was through death, which is pretty ominous.
Yes.
Rich is freaking out because of Demon Carol, but the next time we see him, he's just fine. She's gone. And he's like, yeah, Carol, come get me. Come on. And obviously, he's feeling strong.
Yeah, and this is where they have one of the most interesting edits of the two different movies together. He tries to exit the door, and he can't open the door.
The vampire gnome, that little druid kid.
No, Hook Hat's got the door.
Yes.
Yeah. So Hook Hat is holding the other side of the door. So they keep painting back between these two separate movies.
He's never in the room with them.
No, they
because
can't.
That's impossible. Yep.
But Hook Hat, and they're going to use Hook Hat a ton over the next couple scenes here.
But all he does is slink around and like watch.
Yes.
And I'm using air quotes. Watch the teenagers as they're in the house.
It's really creepy. But he's holding the other side of the door as he's trying to get
then
out.
He lets it open.
Yes.
And then Rich is in this secret passageway. We cut back to the Crypt Keeper for a minute, who has he had a German accent the whole time, or does he just develop that at this point in the movie?
Definitely, it changes. Maybe
Well, now
it's
he's
something to
coming
do-
out real German right now.
Well, maybe he thinks that's what Isabel's gonna like. Like she's awake now, and he's trying
like a fish
to
called
charm her.
Wanda scenario, where
Yeah.
if you talk in an accent, the lady will be all into it. Oh, maybe.
Absolutely, he's trying to work whatever he can with his bride here.
Well, I don't think it works because in his German accent, he tells her that she has no choice but to go along with him, and there's no escape. So again, coming off real creepy here.
You think?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So sorry. This is why I got confused because we see Duke and Linda again. They are exploring, and this is where you called him a druid. I refer to him as the vampire gnome in my notes here.
Yes.
That kid, he sees them also, much the same way that Hook Hand sees the other people, knows where they are.
He's hiding in Harry Potter's room. He's under the stairs.
I guess, but again, never in the same shot because that's impossible.
Yeah, it's weird the way they did this. The way that they like.
A lot of voiceovers.
They overdid the
Yeah.
cuts between the two pieces.
There's so many cuts.
Like, why would you try to make them connect so much? Like, you do it so often that it makes it disconnected.
It's so it becomes like more glaring almost.
Yeah.
So he sees them, nothing happens. He just sees them. He
course,
kind
'cause it
of does
can't be in the
nothing
same
for a long
movie.
time in this movie. We then go back to the British lady. You think her name is Andrea, and her boyfriend David,
Yeah,
as she calls him.
that's right.
They're hiding out in a room with a pull-out couch, and Dave is just catching a nap.
No.
First he's like, let's get drunk, whatever.
And they see him take one swig of the
Yeah.
bottle. He spits it
Well,
everywhere.
you think he's passed out?
Yeah, I think they're
What?
implying that
No,
he passed
I
out.
think he's just popping a nap.
No, I think that they imply he gets super drunk.
Except she's in the bed too.
Yeah.
They're kind of stretched out, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of. I think they're kind of like, oh, this will all be over in the morning. Let's just go to sleep.
Yeah, it was weird.
Well, it was. She hears a noise though. She tells Dave to wake up, but there's a small problem with that. The problem is that some sort of worm, snake, goblin thing has eaten his eye.
Yeah, it looked like a green gargoyle mermaid. Like that's
Sure.
how I would describe it.
Did it have arms? I thought it was like more,
it had
of,
front
more of a
arms,
serpent.
but no. It had front arms, but no. It had like a tail.
This is from the part of the movie where they had a creature budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, and there's a couple of them. So not only has it eaten Dave's eye, it's also clearly killed him. They attack Andrea,
Yeah,
if that is
Andrea.
her name,
It's
the
her
British
name. I
lady.
think it's her name.
She stabs one with is that the fireplace poker?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. In its shoulder.
Yep.
You get a
which-
lot of weird close-ups of
Yep.
the face of these gargoyle green
all
creatures.
the creatures.
Yeah, it's just
face close-ups
Yeah.
all day. She stabs him, gets him off her. There's another one that she squishes under a dresser, and she escapes. And the whole time, just incredibly dramatic music is playing.
yes.
Like they are really trying to pound home how important this scene is. It was like the end of Platoon. Like the dramatic
Yeah.
music is incredible.
Well, and they do cut back to this is where they're making the connection between the two films. They do cut back to I kept calling him the sorcerer, but the guy at the Crypt Keeper.
I mean, maybe he's a sorcerer. He's got all these powers.
Yeah, he is clearly controlling these creatures, right?
He's controlling everything.
Well, that's true.
Everything. So yeah, but it's him and Isabel again. He tells Isabel the future belongs to them and their children. But wait, children,
Yes.
they only had one son, and you'll never guess who their son is.
Druid,
It's the
vampire,
f***ing
kid.
vampire gnome. Yeah.
No, what the? Yeah,
Yeah.
You
And
kind of saw that coming.
I did not actually.
Oh, really?
I had no clue.
Oh.
I thought maybe it would be Billy. I'm like, Billy?
Billy's their son. Why did he kill her son?
I don't know, man. This is the point in my notes, and this happened last week too. This is the point in my notes where I literally wrote down what the is happening in this movie. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
There was
man.
a lot going on.
Oh God! So we cut back to Andrea. She's staggering through the house now. She's all beat up. She's wounded. She's in rough shape, and she finds Dave. Dave appears, and he seems fine.
Yes.
His eyes are both there, and he's like, "It's okay. I'll help you. Come here." And inexplicably, she's like, "Oh, great." Starts walking towards him.
Yeah, she just forgets that he's been like eaten by the
Yeah.
other creatures.
And also, how would he have gotten like past her and
I wasn't
further
quite
ahead
sure if they
than
were
him?
trying to say that like she was hallucinating, like she was having
She's lost
in
that much
shock
blood,
because
maybe.
of all that's
No,
happened.
it's just a Crypt Keeper illusion because Dave transforms into this giant swamp monster who like wraps her up in his scorpion tail and then shoots electricity through the tail. I don't know. Kind of all over the place with
this creature was like Clearly impressive. You can tell how the production like wanted to have that monster in every room, like you described. 'Cause
Yeah.
this monster was actually kind of cool, right?
I agree.
Like, it had some really cool effects. It was all slimy. It had
They
a neat
put some
face
effort
and-
into it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It had a lot of
It wasn't just
movement
purple
in it.
makeup and a fucking hook that the guy's holding underneath his extra long sleeve.
You could tell the difference in the two productions for sure.
Big time. Yeah.
And this had one of the coolest death scenes, I think, out of all of them. The tail thing that wrapped around her and pulled her in was really cheesy.
Yep.
And then the lightning effect to shock her was like
So-
pretty garbage.
Yeah.
But they used claymation to fucking melt her face.
Right.
And it was pretty epic.
It was
like
good.
it would have taken
Yeah.
a long goddamn time to claymate somebody's face melting. Like they would have
Yes,
shot that
and-
over and over and over again
So
to
I'm
make
so
that
glad
work.
we're talking about this because there's another face-related death coming up that I'm
Yes.
very curious to hear your thoughts on. But I agree, like they put some effort into this.
Yeah.
Like I still don't understand the electricity tail. Like it's
Oh, the creature just clearly can control the electricity in its body more
Clearly,
than
of
any
course.
other
Yeah.
creature. But
and you know what? I'll say this to them too. At least these creatures are like their original things. It's
Yeah.
not like stuff you've seen before. It's like this is a different. It's like kind of a lizard thing, but not really. Like it's unique. They're putting effort into it.
I enjoyed that death.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
sure. Yeah, it was good.
So we go back to Isabel. She's trying to escape through like some catacombs, and she is attacked by like a demon witch creature, and then she retreats.
Yeah, this weird bride puppet witch thing.
I don't know,
It kind
man.
of reminded me of like the Macbeth witches. Like I was
Oh.
like, I don't, and it was almost in a cave
Gotta
like
be
that
honest,
too. I was like,
I don't know if Shakespeare made the cut in this in this feature film.
yeah, you don't think that they were drawing on that for
This will be our
inspiration in that
Shakespeare
moment?
scene. This is where we can get some
That's
Macbeth
what it
action.
felt like
I
to me,
don't know,
but
man.
I don't know.
Oh,
It was really
God.
bad. She still escapes from this weird, creepy old
She
witch.
just runs back where she came.
And it kind of just kept popping up behind her and like
Yeah.
laughing menacingly in her ear. I don't know. And then
That was a weird
But
one.
we get back to Cat Hook sneaking again.
He's just watching people.
He's just looking in the windows and seeing all this stuff going down. And I started to enjoy it. The way that they kept placing him to look there. Now, I mean, we may talk
Oh,
about
it's like
this.
a Where's Waldo thing for you? You're like, where is he going to pop up next?
Yeah, well, Cat Hook was the way they connected the two movies in so many like
Yeah, him,
places,
him
right?
and the vampire druid boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carol, the way that they interacted with Carol and the Crypt Keeper, like Carol
That was the
kind of
voiceovers. That was just voiceovers.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, but it was at this point where I almost they had overused it so much that I was like, this is funny now. I like it. I'm really good with this.
Yeah. So at this point, Megan and her dad/boyfriend, they find Duke and Linda. Duke and the father figure start arguing about what to do. They get in a fist fight.
Okay, this is when they meet. They meet in the upper story of the house.
Yep.
And there's about a 2-foot railing. I was like, they are setting up to toss one of these
They're
people
going over the
that
railing. I
railing.
thought so, too.
For sure.
Didn't happen,
And then
though.
it leads to the fight. I was like, how can there be an absurdly low railing and nobody goes over
That's
that
a
shit?
big. You know why? Because that's a big. You need to hire a stuntman for that. These guys can't take this fall. That's more money.
They took a couple pretty good falls.
Well, so we pause the fight for now.
We're pausing this fight?
Yeah, there's a break. They go back to Rich.
Oh, that's true.
Puppet
Okay,
Rich.
sorry.
Puppet
Yeah.
Rich is still alive. All of a sudden, some lady who we've never seen opens a door. She tells Rich that she's trapped too. Rich is like, perfect. All he's been looking for all night is some trim, and now he's going to hopefully find some. She we have to edit that. I don't know.
I'm okay with it.
Can you
I
say
like it.
trim?
I
don't
think
know.
trim's okay.
She tells him that she's been trapped, but she found the way out finally after who knows how much time. She tells him to trust her, and she knows his name, which is not a good sign. If you're rich, like I don't care how much you're looking for love, you can't be like, oh, this strange lady who has been trapped but has found the way out, but didn't just leave. Instead, she's telling me, the guy who she's never met, but somehow knows my name, to follow her. Like this just screams trap. But Rich is probably not the smartest.
He's pretty desperate, and
you think he weighed the pros and cons and was like,
yes,
you know what,
he
it's
definitely
worth
did.
it?
He's like, I'm wearing a shirt with my face and my puppet's face on it, and if there's any chance I can get with this woman, it's worth it.
So she leads him to this giant spider lair where he gets trapped in the most hilariously fake web. Him getting trapped in this web is the funniest thing Rich does in this
Oh my
movie.
God.
It's the worst
He
effect.
falls back into it, and
The only reason he even appears stuck is because like his like right hand is like behind one of the strands. If his hand wasn't behind the strands, he appears to be like a foot in front of it. He doesn't even look a little bit trapped. It's just like rope. It's like string. It's
worse than the net in the swamp thing. It is worse than that. Right? Like, we're like,
yeah. So he's stuck there. Now this was actually pretty good, man. This lady transforms into a giant spider. Again, creature effects, budget.
this was a wicked effect.
Yeah.
Like it started with her face and she starts to transform and she starts to look more spider-like and he gets scared. And then over the period of about a minute, they do this amazing transformation where all of the legs come out and like her head ends up turning into the other appendages of the spider.
Yeah.
And it looks really good.
It looks cool, and it's a good size. It's impressive.
Yeah.
They must have spent some time constructing that.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that
And
part.
now here's where you get to say that Alien stole this from Spookies, even
Yes.
though Spookies came out like 9 years later. She walks over and some sort of spider talon mouth thing plunges into Rich's chest and drains the life out of him. And this is the face effect that I thought we were going to talk about when you mentioned face effect earlier.
Oh my God, yes.
It's, how would you describe this?
It's really good. As soon as the alien thing that got stolen from Spookies by Alien hits him in the chest, he deflates instantly.
So, okay, we cut to what is clearly like a rubber mask.
Yeah,
It's no longer his
yeah.
human face.
No.
It's just a rubber mask. And then, yes, it quickly deflates.
Yes.
Which I laughed out loud. That popped me. I was like laughing
You were
by
like, oh my
myself
God.
in my living
Yeah.
room. I just popped. I
Oh.
couldn't help it.
I was laughing really loud at this point
Yep.
too, but I think I might have even had a clap and a cheer on. Like,
I
was
rewound
so
and watched
excited
it
about
again.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to watch this again, man.
When I was looking around for this movie, or I was looking online, there are a lot of YouTube cuts of
Yep.
just those 2 minutes because they are so good. Like
yeah,
this
and
one popped up
in
a lot
of them.
for
Like
me.
that's the image.
Yes.
Him in the spider web is
Yes.
like the image. That's like the promotional image
It
for this
represents
movie.
Spookies, and it's
Great
worthwhile.
stuff.
It was. I enjoyed seeing him die in that moment.
Don't get me wrong. It was like incredibly bad in the sense of like it's an immediate like that's not a human being.
No.
But
This is the
Great
bad
stuff.
good that we're looking for in this
I
podcast.
agree, man.
right?
I
Like,
agree.
That was glorious.
So Rich is dead now. R.I.P. Rich. No word on if the puppet survived.
yeah, they.
Where did the puppet go? Did he have it with him?
He dropped it at some point in this whole
Yeah.
ordeal. I think he left it with Carol. I would have loved if she incorporated it into some of her bad deeds later in the movie, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, we cut back to Duke and Megan's dad, who are still fighting. Although at this point,
So,
it's more
sorry.
like dance fighting.
Megan's dad's. Oh my God, it's really good. It's so
No, not
choreographed.
good.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's
Oh
like-
my God, yes. When they're
not
fighting
moving like humans.
When they're fighting,
It's dancing.
He gets
They're
like
doing
thrown on a
dance.
table. He flips off.
This is the West Side Story
Yes,
you're talking about with Duke and his leather
exactly.
gi.
They're snapping their fingers at each other, and then Duke tries to smash a chair on the old man.
Again, the guy loves smashing chairs. Is
Yeah,
Duke's
it's
move.
awesome.
Duke will provide us chair smashing.
I think that we had a counter going, or I had a counter going. That was number 3. I think.
Okay, there
Third
we go.
chair.
So they're doing this, and while this happens, the Crypt Keeper causes 2 statues of the Grim Reaper to come to life and attack them.
Yeah, this was actually kind of cool. I liked the Grim Reacher statue in there, and like I enjoyed when it came to life.
So Duke bites it immediately. The statue just kills him straight up. I
Yeah.
thought for sure he wasn't dead. He'd show up. I was kind of envisioning a hero moment where Duke like saves the day.
No, clearly Duke's not
Nope.
the hero. Clearly, Megan's dad is the
all right,
hero.
We'll I don't know. Megan,
Yeah.
her dad, and Linda, they escape temporarily. They run her onto like a ledge. One of the Reapers follows them onto the ledge. The dad throws it off the ledge where inexplicably it explodes when it hits the ground.
I loved this moment.
Really?
It was my favorite moment in the movie.
And sorry, just to be clear, this is not like a weird, like spooky, like spiritual explosion, puff of green
No.
smoke. This is a fucking
Yeah.
explosion.
So
this is
they-
like someone lights a fire that goes to a gas tank and it explodes.
Death is chasing them to the edge of this roof. And Megan's dad decides, I've had enough of this. And he runs at Death, grabs the scythe that Death holds to slay people, right? His hands start smoking. Like, we don't know
Yep,
where all
that's
this smoke's
right.
coming
Is
from.
that the fuse lighting the dynamite?
Well, and then they start sort of like wrestling with each other, and somehow he overpowers Death and throws him off the roof. The
explosion
and
was
then
ridiculous.
They go and pan down to the ground, and Death hits the ground, and it is the most out of proportion explosion in a movie ever.
Yeah, it's like when you see a car explode or like a boat explode. Like there's no reason
That
why.
hits the ground and they light up.
Immediately
Like it's
blows
like
up.
they explode a house in Bad Boys.
It's
like
great.
it was
It's exactly right. Yeah.
It was so good.
man.
I laughed so hard.
It was good, man.
I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my God, yes. And this is where I started to come up with kind of a theory about that guy. Like I think maybe the message of this story is that like you see Duke die and you see this old man sort of like becoming the hero.
God damn it.
I think they were trying to tell us that you need old, responsible men in your life. They were trying to tell women. The
this is a
director was like,
conservative message? This is like
they were
these teenagers are wrong to be partying?
Yes, I think so.
No.
This is where I was getting from the director. I was like, oh my God, they're making this old guy the hero, right?
I mean, okay, so this is what happens next. They head inside. They find all these pictures, statues, scrolls, all belong to the Crypt Keeper. And the dad basically theorizes he's some kind of occultist or possibly demon hunter. He makes this plan. They're going to go downstairs and get the vial, which I was like, what the f*** are they talking about? What vial is this?
Yeah, I didn't understand this
I
part
didn't either, but this is their plan. They're going to get out of there.
Yeah.
They want to live. The Crypt Keeper, of course, sees them, and now he asks his son, the vampire gnome from earlier, Druid Boy, if he's ready to kill. Linda, Megan, and the dad go downstairs. They find Demon Carol. The Crypt Keeper, speaking through Demon Carol, says, join us. He says he wants their souls. No big deal. You just give us your souls.
Just
you can
give me your soul.
Yep. Then he tells his son to take over. At this point, I guess the son has the steering wheel, although there's no clear indication that he actually does anything at all.
Yeah, he's just sitting in his dad's chair.
He just sits there.
And then, like, Carol's head
Her head splits
expands.
open.
Yeah.
It starts shooting all this pulsing light out. This is kind of really low budget
Yeah,
effects.
everyone keeps aging. And
Yeah,
there's-
everyone's aging rapidly. The dad crawls towards the skeleton, who I swear was not holding this before, but now is holding a vial of like acid. And earlier, Linda finds a vial of acid in this room with the statues and stuff.
Yeah.
The skeleton is holding. I swear he was only holding the Ouija board, but whatever. The dad grabs the acid, throws it at the Ouija board. There are all these like firework effects. This is clearly supposed to be the end of this movie. The climactic, like the dad is saving the day.
Yeah.
He's the hero.
Oh, yeah.
One of the firework effects shoots the dad in the eyes. And I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna get out of here. They're fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be
then,
good.
Then it comes back to the Crypt Keeper, and he essentially is like, this is all going to plan.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was, and we never go back, right? Like they're just dead now.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
what
I know.
Was,
I
what was
was like,
clearly
yeah.
supposed to be his triumphant moment.
Yeah,
and even maybe it was a moment of sacrifice where he dies, but the two girls survive.
So,
Megan and Linda get out of there.
But maybe that like. Was that the message of the first two directors? Like the first two directors are like, okay,
I'm sure that was where that movie was supposed to end.
We want the message to be like
They escape.
old men are more responsible.
In every
they will
horror
save young
movie,
women.
In almost every horror
Yeah.
movie, someone survives.
Yeah, and I think that was supposed to be the plan of the very first movie, but the second director and or the person paying for the movie was like, no, that.
And we're, like you said, we're done with those characters now. They're just gone.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
we never
That's
hear
the
from
end.
them again.
And now we get to the real hero of this movie, Isabel. The bride is the real hero.
Yeah.
She knows what she must do, and perhaps she's always known. She says that.
Yes.
What she does is she lures the Crypt Keeper in and stabs him in the brain.
With Billy's ice pick, that little kid from the beginning. Like I always wondered
Wait,
why
he had an ice pick?
Yeah, so I always wondered why Billy was in the movie at all. Like it was really weird that they just decided to kill this 13-year-old on his birthday. But
I thought it was to establish tone. I don't know.
I guess, yeah, that's possible, and also to bring Isabel back to life. But the druid kid steals it out of his backpack early on in the movie and carries
actually,
it
you know
with
what?
him.
That
right?
does sound familiar.
And then he ends up bringing it into that room, and that's where
She stabs him in
his
the
mom
brain.
Gets it. Yeah,
and
stabs
and
the
as soon
sorcerer
as she
right in
does,
his head.
we see a lightning bolt hit that pulsing gravestone from earlier. Isabel escapes the house. She runs out of the house.
Yes.
As soon as she like lands, she like kind of climbs down a trellis. Right away, she's confronted by a lower budget creature effect. That weird dead thing that calls her mama.
Yeah, it's really bad. She like
Ma. And
boots his head, right? Like
Yep.
she just kicks his head.
She
And
runs.
She keeps running through the cemetery. By the way, the cemetery is like some of the cheapest budget special effects too. It
Yep.
looks awful.
Rise, they all again, a bunch of dead bodies rise again, and I swear to God that one of them is Denim Dan from the beginning of the movie.
It is. Oh,
It
absolutely.
is, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah.
It is. No, they
So-
all start coming back to life. All of the death are
now
become his
this
children.
is where the soundtrack kicks into overdrive. This is so fucking 80s rific.
Yes.
It's great, just heavy synth. I was like, At this point, I'm just all in. I'm like, this is great.
They
We've hit the
synth
music
for
cues.
tone a whole bunch throughout the
great
movie.
stuff.
Every time Cat Hook's about to do something, you get some great synth beats too.
Your boy Cat Hook.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
he's
man.
awesome.
So they're grabbing at her. They're pulling. She breaks free. She runs. She's running for a long time. This scene is like 7 minutes.
Oh, it's crazy. It's these overshots of her
Now you know
dodging
why.
all these zombies.
You know why it had to be so long, right?
Because it had to reach that limit.
That's right. This thing's 85 minutes. Without the 7 minutes, it's gonna be like 78 minutes. Not good enough.
I
That's
was
my
thinking
theory all
about
the
you.
time.
Well,
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, and when they do grab her for the very first time, she is there struggling while they grab her legs for at least 3 minutes. It's really bad.
it's a long time, man. I'm telling you, they're just padding it.
Yeah.
So she breaks free. She runs. She finds a car. She gets in the car. Of course, there's no keys. And would she even know how to drive? She's been dead for like 70 years.
Yeah, she doesn't even know what a car is.
Nope. Luckily, some other guy shows up. He's like, "Hey, lady, what are you doing in my car?" He jumps in, drives away because he sees the zombies also. And I have to say this: when she's in the car and he sees her, and all the time this is happening, there are 3 zombies kind of up on a ledge, above her. Mm-hmm. If you look at the guy on the far left, did you notice what he was doing?
No.
He's just knees bent, just swirling his hands around in a circular motion, rising up and down. He's not advancing. At
So
no point is he climbing down to get her.
He's been
just
instructed to just
Yes.
look menacing.
and he's doing a fucking great job. That guy, that extra earned his per diem. That dude crushed it. They drive away, and she says, "I can't believe it. I'm finally free."
Yeah.
But guess what? She's not, because the guy driving the car is actually your boy.
It's Cat Hook.
It's Cat Hook.
I know he makes like it almost sounds like he's possessed, and then he does the transformation that you think is going to happen at the start of the movie.
Yeah, and it's him. We've
Yeah.
come all the way around. And then just to really put the button on it, the pulsing grave busts open, and it's the Crypt Keeper. You can't kill him by stabbing him in the
God.
brain. He's still alive.
Was the Crypt Keeper in the grave the entire time? Like, was that shot from the
How
beginning?
could he be? I don't know.
Yeah, like this was baffling to me. I was like, were they trying to say that the shot from the beginning was actually like a preview of the end, or are
Maybe.
they saying that he was in the grave the entire time?
Don't know.
'Cause he
maybe,
busts out-
maybe that's like a gate, like a portal, a gateway to hell. Who knows?
And then he had like a 3-minute maniacal laugh.
Well, okay, but not entirely, because we also get one more look at the vampire gnome, little
Druid kid,
little
yeah.
Jewish boy,
Yeah.
who he also looks at the camera. He's laughing. Cuts back to the computer. Everyone's laughing, and then,
Yeah.
this is where I popped again. Fucking freeze frame.
yeah, freeze frame.
We end
oh
on
my
a
God.
freeze
Yes,
frame,
I forgot
and
about
I was
that.
just like, this is
Oh.
where I cheered. I was like cheering and clapping.
You love freeze
I
frames.
love,
Yeah,
I
know.
love
Wipes and freeze frames are
frame
your
endings,
favorite.
and they freeze framed it, and I was just done. I was done. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is great.
It was good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff, Spookies. So we're at the end here now. Man, this. Are we just gonna go? Can we just go right to the
Do you want to
ratings?
do the rating of this? Yeah.
So so I was really undecided about this, and I'm glad we had this conversation, because I was thinking for a while there that I was gonna give this a 10 out of 10 for bad.
Wow.
But having had the conversation, talking about the thing was give me pause was the creature effects. Some of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was just me thinking that. But once you said it too, I'm like, okay, so this thing is bad. It's really bad. But I don't think it's a 10 because the creature effects are pretty decent in the original footage. So I'm going to give this a 9.
Yeah. It's so hard. As I think about this, I, going into the movie and actually starting to see that it was 2 separate movies together, just assumed that it was going to be a 10. I was like, this is going to be so bad that I'm not going to be able to give it anything but a 10. But
I really considered it.
But I agree. I think for badness, I'm giving it a 9 as well.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems fair.
Yeah.
How enjoyable for you?
So a lot of the movies we've watched, I've made the claim that I never want to see again.
Yep.
That is not true for this movie.
Oh my God. Are you serious right now?
I actually have a huge urge to watch it again, like as soon as possible. Part
incredible.
of that is because I had the wrong assumption. I had assumed that the Crypt Keeper stuff was all filmed first, and that they'd use the teenager stuff as a way to fill in the gaps of things that had happened. So
Yep.
going through that movie, I had a really different assumption than what was true to life, that they had filmed all that teen stuff first, and that the Crypt Keeper was the solution. I was I'm excited to watch it again. I enjoyed it. I loved a lot of the death scenes. I really enjoyed the monster. I'm going to give this thing a 9.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a huge score, man.
I really, really liked it. I was I had a good time watching it. That is my 9 and a 9. That's an 18 for me, which is probably my highest rating, I think.
I think
if I consider
we'll
amount right
go
now.
back and take a look, but I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
I do not like it as much as you. I had a good time watching it. Don't get me wrong. I was going to give this a 7, but the freeze frame ending.
Oh, you always bump it up.
I'm
one
gonna
for a
make
freeze frame,
a hard
yeah.
and fast rule right now.
Yeah.
Any movie that ends with a freeze frame, I'm giving it +1 for enjoyable.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say this is an 8 for me.
Wow. Okay, that's
So
pretty
my
good.
score is a
Holy
17.
cow.
Yours is an 18. Good stuff. What'd you think of the Deadly Dark beer?
Going in, I was a little hesitant because it was a malt forward lager you had described, and generally I'm more of a hop heavy IPA kind of gentleman.
Yep.
But I really enjoyed the chocolate and vanilla notes in this thing. It was very easy to drink. I would definitely go back for another.
I enjoyed it also. I won't lie to you. I did not detect the chocolate and vanilla notes.
No way.
I don't know, man. It just tasted like a dark beer.
They're so on the nose. That's
It was
okay.
good though.
Yeah,
I would drink it too. Good stuff, Caledon. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
Yeah, that's the first Caledon Hills brew that I've had. So
Well,
good on them.
they got a few more. We'll check it out. All right. I think that just about does it then. Next week, this will be exciting. We're going to go for a sexy thriller.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this. Two friends are about to watch an erotic thriller together, so
It'll be great. Body of evidence next week, guys, unless something goes horribly wrong.
where can they find us? Information, talk to us.
Yep. So first of all, if you enjoyed the podcast, give us a rating, subscribe anywhere you get your podcast from. Reviews are always welcome. Tweet us at the BMB Podcast on Twitter. You can contact us with movie suggestions, the BMB Podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback always good. And we'll be back next week. Body of evidence.
Beautiful.
Get excited.
All right, thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Keep it spooky.
Is that going to be every time now? You're just going to, whatever the movie is? A night of unrelenting terror.